Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Thanks everybody who's showing up. My name is Emily Kawano. I am the co-coordinator of the U.S. Solidarity Economy Network. At least that's one of the hats that I wear. So I'm one of the founders of the network. And today I am going to be doing a Solidarity Economy 101. So we'll be talking a little bit about just basically what is solidarity economy, and also just talking a little bit about capitalism and post-capitalism. So let's see, with that, I am going to pull up a slide deck. Okay, so loading, all right. So first of all, just to acknowledge that we are in this historic moment. It's like once in a lifetime, maybe once every 2 lifetimes of these converging crises, right? So we had the pandemic, we have all the disastrous impacts of climate change, we have racial justice uprisings, we have the campus struggles around Gaza now, we have the rising tide of fascism. It's a very unique moment, and it's admittedly a very scary moment. At the same time, these crises create these fractures and these breaks, and undermines the faith in the status quo and creates openings to doing things differently. So this is a moment that from a solidarity economy perspective is really ripe with possibilities. So I want to start just by exploring, in order to talk about solidarity economy, which is clearly embraces a vision that is post-capitalist, we need to grapple a little bit with what is capitalism. So I am going to invite everybody to do one of 2 things. You can either use that QR code, and it'll take you to this Mentimeter, and you can answer that question: capitalism, what does it mean to you? So you can type in as many answers as you like. The other thing you can do, if you don't want to use the QR code, you can just type in menti.com, and then you'll be prompted for a code, and the code is the 82490813. So I'm going to give people a couple seconds to do one of either of those. So both get you to the same place. So either use the QR code or type in menti.com and use that code there, 82490813. I'm going to give you another second. And for those of you that are already in Menti, just go ahead and you can enter as many answers as you like to the question, capitalism, what does it mean to you? And now I'm going to trust that people have either gotten the QR code, or they've gone to menti.com and typed in the code. The code is gonna stay when I hit this result. So let's see if this works. Okay, great. So keep them coming, and you'll see that the words that are centered and that are larger are the ones that are getting mentioned more often. So we have exploitation, extraction, greed, oppression, debt, money, marketplace, infinite growth, wage labor, profits over people, labor as a commodity, infinite, oh, I said that already, private ownership, dehumanization, money, police brutality, financial speculation, profit motive, extractive industries. Keep them coming. I'll give you a couple more seconds. Isolation, privatization, suffering, cancer, They're coming fast. Transactional, commodity production, financial speculation. Okay. 2 more seconds to get your last words in there. And then I want to ask everybody to take a look at this word cloud. Try to hold that in your head. Okay? And I am going to, hold on, let me get rid of this. Okay. All right, so hold that word cloud in your head. And now we're gonna go through a definition. So my guess is that a lot of those words in that cloud are describing the impact of capitalism, that it's brutal and dehumanizing, and that it's a lot of those were descriptions. Some of them will align with this definition. So I just want to say where this definition comes from. So I have been a longtime member of the Center for Popular Economics. I used to be the executive director for almost 10 years. We are a collective of progressive to radical economists, and the Center for Popular Economics helps people understand better how the economy works or how the economy doesn't work. And we have been using this definition, very simple definition of capitalism for well over 40 years. So it has stood the test of time. I know a lot of people say capitalism, it's just too complicated. Everybody defines it in different ways. It's impossible to define. But I want to say that we can define it. And we should define it, because otherwise it just becomes a very mushy term that is a catch-all for everything that we just don't like. So if we want to think about a system, here are the 5 characteristics that define capitalism. So number 1, it's the private ownership of the means of production. Sometimes we call those the MOPs. And the means of production are just those things that you need to produce stuff. Right? That's your land, that's your factories, that's your machinery, that's your tools, that's your inputs. Okay? Those are your MOPs. And that private ownership, that's your capitalist, right? The capitalists are the ones that own the means of production. Number 2, there's wage labor. So workers provide the labor in exchange for a wage, right? The workers do not own the means of production. And right there, you have inevitably, inherently, intrinsically, unavoidably class struggle, because very often the capitalists are trying to do the 3rd bullet point, profit maximization, on the backs of workers, trying to lower wages, do away with health and safety and regulations. So class struggle is really built into capitalism as a system. The 4th feature is it's all about commodity production. So it's producing things for sale and not necessarily for need. So production of more profitable things is more attractive than things that people need if they're not very profitable. And the last feature is market exchange, right? Things are bought and sold on the market. You need all 5 of these features. So working in the co-op world, the worker co-op world, I've certainly heard people say, oh yeah, I work in a co-op and we are a capitalist enterprise because we engage in commodity production and we exchange on the market. And the reason why that's incorrect is because a worker co-op does not have this class divide, right? The workers are the owners. The workers own the means of production. That's what it means to have a worker co-op. So you need all 5 of these. One alone will not do, okay? So that's a down and dirty definition of capitalism. And here I want to talk about two big buckets of economic systems. One is capitalism, and under capitalism, you'll see that there are different paradigms of capitalism, but they're all still capitalism. So there's neoliberalism, there's New Deal, there's social democracy. They're all still capitalist. And then there's post-capitalism, and solidarity economy would relate to or embrace democratic forms of socialism and other solidarity economy frameworks that are democratic. What solidarity economy would absolutely reject are authoritarian forms of economic systems, or authoritarian state socialism, for example. So I hope that's clear. Going back to capitalism, just super quick. I think I have a slide on this, right? So let's look at these, quickly look at these different paradigms of capitalism. So the current paradigm that we're living under is neoliberalism. If there was like an Animal Farm kind of slogan, it would be markets good, state bad, right? Trying to shrink the state as much as possible. And it's all about laissez-faire free markets. I'm not going to go into it, but in actuality, there's a huge amount of just hypocrisy there. So the state is used when it's advantageous for capital, even while they're waving this free market flag. New Deal capitalism, think about coming out of the Great Depression. Sometimes it's called Keynesian economics, where the social welfare state was legitimate and the role of the government was much more legitimate in terms of regulating the economy and other forms of regulation. And then social democracy, think about Scandinavia, for example. So it's kind of like New Deal capitalism on steroids, okay? All of these are different, very different paradigms, and yet they're all still capitalism. So it's important to keep this in mind. If we're believing that, oh, well, here we are. A lack of clarity about what capitalism is can easily lead to just reforming and thereby strengthening capitalism. An example is the New Deal, right? The New Deal actually saved capitalism at a time when there was tremendous social and political unrest, and socialist and communist movements were quite powerful. And the New Deal actually took a lot of those policies and embraced them, and it kind of made capitalism a lot more humane. So it saved it. So clarity about the long-term vision, like where you're heading. Are you about reforming capitalism, or are you about moving beyond capitalism, so post-capitalism? That clarity will help to ensure in the solidarity economy movement that we're building transformative reforms or non-reformist reforms instead of actually strengthening capitalism. So thinking about the Green New Deal, like that could go either way. Okay, so I want to invite you to close your eyes. Now we're going to start talking about what's the alternative, what's solidarity economy. So we're going to do a little visualization. So if you can close your eyes, take a deep breath in, deep breath out, and imagine that your vision of a more just, sustainable, equitable, solidaristic world has come to pass. So you're starting out in your home. What does your home feel like? Look around you. Maybe who lives there with you? Now step outside your door and you're going somewhere. Up to you where you're going. And imagine that you are walking. Maybe you're riding a vehicle or in a vehicle. Somehow you're making a journey. Your choice. And as you're journeying, look around you. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear? What do you smell? So you're journeying through this other world, this future world, and you arrive at your destination. And what is that destination? Sink into that for just a second. What are you there to do? And enjoy that for a second. Okay. So you can open your eyes, take a deep breath in and out. Hang on to those feelings. And now we're going to do another word cloud. So it's exactly the same QR code. It's exactly the same Mentimeter code there. So you're doing exactly what you did before. And I'm going to have to advance. Hold on just a second. Okay. So now, all right. Now you should be able to answer this question. What values anchor this vision? Were people able to grab the, okay, some people have the QR code. Great. We have respect. We have community. We have dignity. We have relationship, belonging, safety, equal access, belonging, cooperation, biodiversity, selflessness, love, things growing, accountability, clean air, dignity, I said that already, belonging, clean air, healing. Keep them coming. A couple more seconds. You'll see in the center here is respect, community, love, accountability, art, growth, safety. 2 more seconds. We're not getting as many. Maybe I didn't give you time enough to grab that QR code. 2 more seconds. Get justice, leisure, laughter, things growing, collaboration, green spaces, justice. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you again, have a look at this word cloud. Try to hold that in your mind. And okay, we're going to go back to the slide deck and talk about solidarity economy. And I'm going to start by looking at the values and just remember what was in the word cloud and how many of those terms aligned with these values. I saw cooperation, which is akin to solidarity. I saw something about equal voices and democracy. So I think there was stuff about, I think, the environment. So these values, I would say, align pretty well with that word cloud. So that's the link that I want to make. And now I'm going to back up and put it all together for a definition of the solidarity economy. And again, I'm going to just touch on where this definition comes from. So it comes both from the U.S. Solidarity Economy Network, so that's USN, and REPES, which makes sense in Spanish and French. It's the basically the International Solidarity Economy Network that's a network of continental solidarity economy networks. REPES engaged in a 2-year international consultation process to co-develop a common definition, like across language and culture and across the world. So boiling it down, it is the solidarity economy. Number one, it is a framework. I wouldn't quite call it a theory. It is a framework. And it is a framework that connects up practices, solidarity economy practices, and of course the people that are practitioners and are fighting for and advocating solidarity economy. So these practices align with the values that we already talked about. So solidarity, cooperation, reciprocity, etc. Democracy, so participatory democracy in all areas, right? So not only in the voting booth, but in community, in the workplace, etc. Equity in all dimensions, right? Race, class, gender, etc. Sustainability and embracing living in harmony with people and Mother Earth. The last one here is pluralism, which means that solidarity economy is not a one-size-fits-all approach. We believe that there are many strategies, many paths, leading to the same goal of building a world that centers people and planet. All of this articulates a post-capitalist world, right? Solidarity economy is very, very clear that we, working within this framework, do not believe that reforming capitalism will ever get us to that more just and sustainable and democratic world. Not to throw stones, right? That's a position. Some people believe we can get there by reforming capitalism. But if that's where, if that's where people are at, then they don't belong in the solidarity economy movement. So I just want to say a little bit about the global movement. So I mentioned RIPES already. The ILO is the International Labor Organization. They run an annual Social Solidarity Economy Academy. The UN has a task force on the solidarity economy. It has been enshrined in the constitutions of Bolivia and Ecuador. And there are about a dozen countries that have national policy frameworks that direct all the various departments of government to support the solidarity economy. So there's a lot of there, right? There's a lot of legs to the solidarity economy throughout the world. So just imagine solidarity economy in your life. So instead of a police state, we have restorative justice, transformative justice. Instead of monopolies, we have community-controlled businesses. Instead of a boss, you're a worker owner. Instead of a landlord, maybe you live in a community land trust. Instead of banks, maybe you use a credit union. And instead of representative democracy, maybe you engage in participatory democracy. And again, instead of landlords, maybe you're leveraging a tenant union. Okay, whoops. So I'm not going to go into this in great detail. I think everybody will have access or does have access to this slide deck, so you can look at this at your leisure. But this is just to make the point that solidarity economy practices exist in all sectors of the economy. So production, reproduction, distribution and exchange, consumption, finance, governance. There are two that I want to pull out here. One is solidarity economy embraces the importance and economic value of care work, even the care work that is non-waged, right? And this is part of the solidarity economy that pretty much all of us participate in. Maybe you take care of your kids, or you take care of your siblings, or you take care of your neighbor, or all that kind of care, or an elder, right? So all that kind of care work is, even if it's not paid for, is absolutely a valuable part of the solidarity economy. The other one that I want to pull out here is under governance, right? The public sector and a lot of the policies are probably keepers, like public schools. pretty likely in our future world, there will be public education. Maybe it needs to be reformed a lot, but right, and some policies probably are keepers. Health and safety regulations, environmental regulations. So this is just to illustrate that some of these practices are old, are very old, and some of these are newer. Some of these are alternatives, and some of them are quite mainstream, like, public sector and policies. So solidarity economy exists all around us. There's a huge foundation to build on. We're not starting from scratch. And yeah, this is just making that same point. So what's the way forward? One thing is solidarity economy has all these practices out there. They tend to be not very well connected. So that's one thing about scaling up the solidarity economy, is connecting up and getting these different pieces of the solidarity economy to recognize each other as on the same path, right? To build this other world and work together. Another sort of approach to a theory of change is to say we need to both build and we need to resist. So if to the extent that that top sphere is the solidarity economy, the build, there's also very important resist or fight back spheres of organizing and social movements, as well as political work, policy work, electoral work, right? And we need all these areas of organizing to work together, because the resist without the build, the resist without the practice, and real vision, concrete vision of where we're going, it's pretty likely that we'll end up just reforming capitalism. And the solidarity economy, building these practices without being grounded in the resistance and the fight back, especially in frontline communities, leaves it somewhat isolated in just building nice little isolated practices. The last circle I just want to point out is the importance of culture and interpersonal relationships. And I'm sorry if you're hearing a quacking in the background, that's my dog with his duck toy. So apologize for that. Yeah, so just the importance of culture and how we are with each other, right? That also is an important part of the solidarity economy, just how we relate to each other. And anybody can practice it on a daily basis, just by being a little bit more caring, a little bit more compassionate, connecting a little bit more with other people and other beings.